Man, Choi is just this is the curse of being released pretty much at the very beginning of the game. If you guys don't know, Choi was the first ever rate up character to release for the game, and I guess the downside to having characters released so early on is that going forward, if they're not improved enough and whatnot, then it's a bit of a curse because they do technically drop off. Other characters come along, they overshadow. Now, to be fair, does that put Choi completely down the drain? No, I mean, he's still good. In team fights, I love using him. I mean, the defense drop, I mean, you know, there are key parts about Choi that still make him viable, usable, right? Obviously, for whatever reason, there is a big part of him that really does hold him back to being an attacker, and the best way to kind of even things out is you have to increase his attack by a considerable amount, knowing where current attacking units are at with the amount that they're hitting for, you know. And this is kind of why there's been an outrage of you know, pitchforks and whatnot of people just, you know, hoping that Choi would get buffed. And I'm gonna be honest, even with the current buffs that we're getting for Choi, it's kind of like, yay, we got a little bit of a buff for Choi, but then the character that's kind of taking the forefront of fire elements, aka Suyeon, of course, is also getting a buff, and it's going to be more catered to her to be used still. I feel like they just need to get rid of one thing that is holding back Choi, and I'm pretty sure you guys know what it is. If you guys do want to support your boy, that'd be greatly appreciated. We're on our road to 450, which is absolutely fantastic. I appreciate everything with all the support that I'm getting. If you guys are in need of the codes, again, I'll provide those. The giveaways are all still active. By all means, if you're a supporter of mine, please enter. So with the update for the developer note, this is what they had to say about Choi. So first things first, with the initial passive, they've made it so that the attack adjustment will go up by 10% and the attack and defense penetration adjustment will go up by 4%, right? That's on the initial passive that affects everyone, all right? So as of right now, it's at 40%, and then the attack and defense at 16%. So that's going up to 50%, that's going up by 20%. I mean, here's the thing, the initial buffs that they're providing for Choi, they're good, don't get me wrong, like, I'll take it, but just remove, I don't see the point in this. I really don't. Choi cannot deal critical hits. This is such a huge setback. If you're gonna apply the fact that he can't crit, which is absolutely insane for an attacking character, might I say, they need to, I mean, keep going with the attack buff. Like right now, my Choi is what, if an enemy, I mean I've probably got gameplay up right now so you guys can get an idea, of course, but like, when I activate the ultimate, which then resets the Rain of Flames to come back as a meteor, that is my highest attack, because that then drops over 2 million, right? Obviously I can't crit, there's no crits to be done, so everything is just kind of raw damage from Choi. So on average with my ultimate, it's around about 2 mil, probably under that, of course. It is the first skill when it turns into a meteor is when that is the most damage I'm getting out of him, of course. So there is a lot of setback for Choi because of that one. I mean, here's the thing, I kind of see the concept of just kind of making him that raw attacker. I do believe the defense penetration for the defense drop on defense route is actually a nice little touch to have for them to be a raw attacking character. I think from that point on, what they should consider doing is keep the debuffs where if the enemy is burnt, because then that comes from his weapon, to give the enemy that drop on, was it 20%? How do I check? Is it 20%? Boom. Yeah, 20%. Plus he's getting the attack increase of 18%, which is fantastic. I mean, they could probably bump that up to 20%, I'm just saying. But the defense decrease with the defense penetration on how this Choi is working, I think that's a fantastic idea. I feel like what they should do capitalize on, if they are going to be keeping the critical hit, being that he can't hit anyone with crits, make it so that he's bypassing defense, right? So whilst you've got the 20% defense decrease on the enemy, which affects all of our characters, that way we can get that extra damage in, make it so that why doesn't Choi bypass like 40% of the enemy's defense? Like something absurd. Keep the damage where it is, where it's at, but also make him bypass a good chunk of the defense from his kit alone, just for Choi. whilst keeping the debuff where he can then affect it so that everyone can get some involvement in with doing a little bit more damage through dropping the enemy's defense by 20%, of course. That's just kind of one of the ideas that's kind of going through my mind on what we could potentially help. If they want to keep the concept of him not critting, they have to cater more to him. End of days being the ultimate is going up by 10%. Again, that's going to be an so with my CHOI, with him getting that extra 10%, with it being A3, that will probably make me go around the 2.2, 2.3 margin. The calculations that I'm going off from is floor 43 or 42, whichever one the bear is on, of course. So that's kind of where I'm going to be reaching once we get that increase, which, I mean, it's not bad, don't get me wrong, like, it's fantastic, but with where we want CHOI to be, more needs to come out of it. Now, the one thing which I will say, which I'm looking forward to, is the burn. So the DOT burn every 3 seconds. We're going to be, so they're going to be adjusting the damage for it to be 100%. I'm eager to see where that's going to be. I will say I am really liking DOT effects for this game, and I do hope going forward that we do get like a character that is heavily orientated around DOT. Using CHOI as a support, I'm actually enjoying it more and more. So that way I can get that defense decrease and I get that burn in. So I'm really looking forward to seeing on how the burn is going to be working now. But yeah, I do like the burn going up by 100%. I think that was a big W, to be fair. And then obviously the equivalent exchange for the attack increase based on the advancement. So again, that's just kind of pretty standard on CHOI himself. So again, really heavily needed. And that's pretty much the premise. Good buffs, good adjustments being made. I think there's still more that needs to be done. I understand that with where the developers are at with the adjustment that they've made, I think it's them to kind of see on where CHOI is at, but I think more needs to be done. I personally think with the advice that I've given to where he can bypass a lot of the defense, I think that might be the wave. That, or just completely remove it, like just get rid of it. I don't like this concept. I feel like it's something that they need to think about and structure in a more better way going forward. Because for him to be the first raid up character and then for him to then have this applied, that is just a huge setback. And then of course, seeing CHOI getting buffed, I just double checked Suyeon, of course, and I'm just like, damn, she is going to pop off. Like, the core attack is getting an extra 10%. Yeah, the magic fire, I mean, that's on the initial passive, so I'm not really too keen on that. I mean, it's not too bad, to be fair. And then obviously defense pen +2, that's fine. But then on the A5, to make it so that it caps at 120, our kill shot and Hellfire are just going to be absolutely obliterating the enemy now. So like, Suyeon herself is doing like crazy amount of damage. Like on her second skill, you can quite easily hit 5 mil, right? Because again, the enemy is always going to be affected and have the fire typing disadvantage play, because it's always guaranteed. Yeah, so Suyeon will always be catered to, and it's kind of weird because if you look at the show, and if you look at solo leveling, the IP itself, and you look at how both of these characters are structured, it's kind of weird to see Suyeon taking the forefront of things, where it should be CHOI, aka the ultimate hunter. I don't know, it's weird on how the game has kind of done things, you know. CHOI should be the head, he should be the face of the fire element, just if we're going lore-wise. So it's kind of awkward to see with how things have planned out, but yeah, just kind of looking at the damage with where things are at. So like, even with the extra 10% that he's getting, his Rain of Flames, once you use the ultimate, wait, which hold on a minute, let me just find out which advancement is it. Yeah, so A1, so once he gets the mega crater, that's still going to be hitting hard. The mega crater is still going to be hitting hard. Well, for me personally, it's going to be hitting harder than the ultimate, I will say that. So that's wild, that's crazy. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think with CHOI, either remove the critical hit and let him just crit, for the love of God. Just let him crit, because at the end of the day, this concept is pointless. If you really think about it, it really is pointless. So just get rid of it, or bump up the defense pen that he gets, or like make it so that he can bypass a good chunk of the enemy's defense and raise his attack even higher, because in terms of where the attacking characters are right now with the attacking units that we have, he's falling far behind. He's still good, he's still decent, don't get me wrong, But in terms of where he needs to be, or where we want him to be at, yeah, there's some catching up to do, I will say. But in terms of team fights, he's a solid character to have. In perspective of this, team fights, I would much rather have Choi over Suyun. I'll put it like that. But everything else, Suyun is being catered to.